Yeah, sorry I didn't get back to you sooner, but I've been working. Since that video, I kind of did a couple different things. The main thing, I guess, that you was trying to figure is the motor mount. This is the Lifan 125. It's in 4 gears. I cut the pipe that goes around here with the plate for the motor that it has, which kind of left it open. This motor's a lot longer, so it kind of wanted to touch the tire. You got to put it on the right angle. What I did was I fabricated, took like regular L bracket iron, not the square stock, like the right angle shit, and kind of made a box. Drilled out, took a couple pieces, cut them down, drilled out. The easiest thing, the way I figured it, was I set the motor on like a 4x4 and kind of, positioned it in the frame kind of where it was going to be. And I had these already pre-drilled out and bolted through. And then I had these here, which kind of in a box, I kind of had them already welded to the frame. So where I kind of like, by doing that, I was able to move the frame slightly forward and back to get where exactly I wanted these at, you know what I mean? Because wherever it would fall, and I just tacked it, then I removed the motor, welded it on, put the motor back. That's for the top. You see that square there. The same, this is the frame itself. I just welded it to the frame itself. On the bottom as well. Try to see if I get it good. I did the same thing. Cut 2 pieces, drilled a hole, put the bolted it through, and then I welded a piece across it. You know what I mean? To where you'd see it looked like a C almost, the sides and then the back coming up. So when I lined it where I wanted, I tacked it, then unbolted. When I slid the engine off, that kind of was at exactly where it's supposed to be. Then I welded it on there. And the back here, I took another little piece because it won't be dead center right here. It's kind of up, so where you would only have like a little weld on the bottom. I figured that, if it would torque, it kind of would like spin on, like, twist on you a bit. So I welded another piece like on a 45 right there. You know what I mean? To strengthen it, to where this won't like move back and forth on you at all. With this, I took a couple little extra steps. I extended the axle, the swing arm, I mean. You can see like it's a lot longer than what it would be. With the motor, the way this is set here, this swing arm, this is actually upside down. I had to cut everything off of it and turn it upside down because this is offset. And the back here, it's offset for the chain. For the 49cc motor, the chain's on this side. It would be on this side, and this would get in the way. So being that the sprocket on this motor is on the opposite side, what I did is I took the swing arm and just flipped it over. Of course, the fender guards and all that, you have to cut them off and then just re-weld them upside down because you need the space, like this space right here, for the chain. With this, it's kind of like offset if you don't do that. And mainly it would be right here. And that's pretty simple because where you cut it off, you're turning that upside down. It's giving you the distance. You don't have to do anything other than weld it right where you cut it off from. Now that it's upside down, you won't have to do it here unless you did what I did, which is extend the swing arm. You'd have to. Hold up. Once you flip it upside down, the only thing you'd have to do is just cut the shit for the fenders and the brakes, and to weld it on the bottom. You pretty much that's it. With me is I extended it, so I had to cut, to put these on, because the ones that came with was about that long. That little ass shock, you hit bumps with it, it's kind of like doesn't give you no play. What happened when I took this here was an agility scooter, 125 on the fucking Kemco Agility. And I took the rear shock from that and put it on here, which actually now this shit, it's got a real soft ride. The fork as well. This fork is from there as well. I took that off. This yoke right here is real small compared to that there. I don't know if you can see the distance, how long it is. So what I had to do was I cut it down and welded the threads. The top part, I welded the threads, the one that this came with, because I actually flipped taking it around the block, and that fork was real flimsy. This fork here is built, you know, to ride on the street. It's a little bit wider. It's, you know, it doesn't have the tree or anything because it's just single. I ended up welding the top parts on there. You see they're a little bit offset in order to receive the whole fork and everything for that. It's not, I mean, it's not easy, but it's not like super complicated. I just made sure that the weld for the threads and everything has to be exactly straight and welded properly, because if not, you hit a bump and that should come apart. What happened was, before I had put the swing arm and everything, I took it around the block and I hit a bump. And because the fork was a little bit, it wasn't tight, that little bit of play actually by hitting the bump was enough to flip the bike forward, and it bent them because that metal's like real thin, kind of like the forks on a bike. So that's when I took the time to do this, and now it's like I could probably do easy 60 on it. And when you hit a bump, it's super soft. It's got kind of like the suspension that scooter has, and that scooter's made to go 60, 70 on, you know, wheels, these type of wheels, which is almost a little bit bigger than the ones on that bike. And you know, you hit the bumps, it doesn't get all squirrely. With the with the 50cc motor, you're going down the road and you hit a bump and it's so stiff, it kind of like, you know, wants to go all over the place on you. It's a hell of a difference between the single swing arm being longer, you know, gives you more travel, the shock, and of course that front fork being different. It's a hell of a different ride. I haven't finished. The one thing you're gonna run problems in, which is what I'm in the middle of doing now, I kind of built my own for the rear brakes to make them a foot pedal one, because you need the for the clutch now, you know. And I actually took the freaking, I'm kind of doing this backwards so I can't see really what I'm like shooting at. The disc brake that's hydraulic from that Kemco, this disc, I kind of welded it on top of the disc that the disc brake that this had, which is a lot bigger. Of course, it's hydraulic. You see here, that is simply, all that is there is the what you call it, the for the handbrake. I kind of built that little bracket. This would be, shit, I can't get my hands in there. See if I can, you can see it. All that is the what you call it, the handbrake. This right here. I cut it right there. I drilled a hole about here with a little bracket that's gonna have a bolt going across it, which grabs this here, grabs that there, and when you step on the brakes there, you know, it pulls it back, articulates everything to work, which is hydraulic now. My next step is to put the disc brake, like this bracket here, the disc brake the calipers, I mean, that came with this is a little bit smaller. This is aluminum, so it's easy to pretty much drill it. And you don't have to do no welding or nothing, just drill the two holes, line it up, and you know what I mean, have that for the front brakes. So that might make a decision on whether or not you want to go with this motor with the gears, or go, I think the Piranha, one of them is like a semi-automatic that doesn't have a clutch. You know what I mean? That would like make things a lot easier. Of course, you don't got the control of, like, you know, popping the clutch, and this thing like a pop willy, and, you know, and nothing now. I got to do the same thing for the shifter here, because since this motor, the way this frame is not made for that, your shifter will be way out here, and here's your foot peg back here. What I originally did was I extended it. That's kind of like shitty because it was just to see if it worked. And instead of it being like that, I put it backwards, which now, instead of it being 1 down, 4 up, it was the opposite. It would be 1 up, 4 down. But the longer it is, the more travel you have to have, so it kind of make it awkward or whatnot. So right now what I'm in the process of doing is I'm going to cut this off right here. I'm going to make it, you know, I'm going to kind of like, that'll be the bracket. It's going to have, I'm going to weld a piece of iron coming this way with a hole in it, with maybe a rod that goes that way, and I'll grab this. I'll grab this here. I'm going to cut that off, put it like, make a little base for a little peg coming out where it'll slide on there. When I push this down, if it has like a little rod coming up like this on this side and one like that on that side with a link in between, you know, it'll work the way it's supposed to. I'll probably show you better once it's done. My explanation skills aren't that great, but that's pretty much where I'm at. Give me a call or anything, any questions you might have.